In this tutorial, I'd like to take you through the details of using the HDR Express 3 plugin inside of Lightroom. Now, many of you have probably been using Lightroom for a number of years and have also used different plugins within the product. I want to take you through some of the specific things you want to pay attention to when using HDR Express 3 inside the Lightroom environment. The first one is you want to make sure you selected the actual folder on your hard drive that contains the images, and not started by looking at a catalog or a collection of different images. And the reason for that is that the catalog and collection views don't actually show you the actual files in your folder, but are just pointers or references to those files. We're going to be doing a round trip process, so we're going to start with the original files, bring them into the plugin, merge them, tone map them in a 32-bit color space, and return them as a 16-bit TIFF file back into Lightroom. And if you select the folder view, then that image that you have returned back into Lightroom will actually show up down here on the bottom together with the images that you used to make them. If you start from a collection or a catalog view, you're not going to see that returned image there. It's always going to be returned back into the folder with the original files that were used to make it. Now, one other thing I want to mention before we get started. When you're looking at a single low dynamic range image, there's great tools within Lightroom to process that and improve that image. You can sharpen it, you can adjust exposure, white balance, you can do spot removal, all types of things. All of these processing steps, though, will degrade the quality of the final merged image. You really want to start with the raw files. In terms of photographic workflow, you always start with the biggest task first, and in this case, it's going to be managing the HDR process. You can see here that I have 6 different exposures. These were all taken at one-stop increments. What I want to capture in this image is the details in the shadows underneath the truck, and the colors of the blue sky and the white clouds, and here the train cars in the background. So I have 6 images at one-stop increments. And you can see how no single image would capture the full dynamic range. If I have the brightness level here underneath the truck that I want to have and the color saturation of the truck that I want to have, you can see that I've lost all of my highlight detail here in the clouds. Likewise, if I go back for the cloud detail, you can see that everything here is dark. If you were to process this as a single image inside of Lightroom, you could probably get some pretty good results, but opening up this level of darkness here underneath the truck would introduce a lot of noise. We're going to eliminate that with the HDR process. Next thing you want to do after you've selected this is invoke the plugin. Now, there are a number of different ways to open up plugins within Lightroom. The easiest way is to do a right click and go under Export and select it here. Likewise, you can get the same menu here underneath the File menu. But you want to avoid doing that at least the first time around. And the reason for that is using this plugin is really a 2-step process. The first step that you'll want to do is select the type of files you want to send to the plugin, and then launch the plugin itself. And if you use the right-click option here, you're actually taking a shortcut and you're skipping that first step, and that's very important. Let me show you how to do it correctly. You click on the Export button down here, and this brings up that first step of the dialog. This is Export to HDR Express 3. Here you have 2 choices. You can merge and edit the original images. This will send the raw files into the plugin, and this will typically get you the best results. If you choose to merge and edit with Lightroom adjustments, this Lightroom will take the raw files and all of the processing that you've done within Lightroom and then create temporary TIFF files and send those TIFF files to HDR Express 3 to merge. Now, if you skip this step, if you don't go through this step the first time, and you just do a right click to launch the plugin, Lightroom won't know which version of images that you want to send to it. And what Lightroom does in that case is send JPEG images. So it'll convert your good quality raw files into JPEG images and send those JPEG images into the plugin, and then from there you'll probably get very mediocre results. So by doing this, you select the type of images you want to send to the plugin and hit Export. And that'll launch the plugin, and you'll see they're selected here. And I'm going to just go through the standard steps here. I'm not going to do a lot of instructions on the processing and changing the images inside the plugin, because all those steps are the same as in the standalone application that I've covered in a separate video tutorial. So I'm going to click on Merge at this point. And now the tone mapped image is displayed in the plugin. Once this image is loaded, I'm just going to make a couple of minor modifications. Just let me add a little bit of a gamma to that to brighten the shadows a little bit. I'm also going to add a little bit of detail to it, just to make it pop a little bit more. And with that, I'm going to click on the Save button. Now I will save this as a 16-bit TIFF file back into Lightroom. And here you can see that the result has been returned back into the same folder with the source files that were used to create it. Now once I'm done with the tone mapping process, I can now take this image into the Develop module and then simply select a different preset from my list here inside of Lightroom and finish it off how I want to have the final result look. And that's the recommended workflow for using the HDR Express 3 plugin inside of Lightroom. Thanks for watching.